Hello my friends, this is umonox. First of all, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Great time with your family and everything. And in today's tutorial, I want to have a look at how we can turn this into this. By using one single note from your favorite analog monosynth or your monosynth in general. Instant chord generator with the Elektron Octatrack, so to say. Okay, so without further hesitation, let's go in and let's see how we can make this happen. I want to go in here and quickly create a new project, as usual, so we can start from scratch. Don't care about the naming here. Now I'm using the Arp Odyssey for that demonstration purposes here. But pretty much any synth works, obviously. So let's, now we have an empty project to start with. Now first let's set everything up just the way we need it. And for that I go to my MIDI track first and place a trigger right here. And I extend the length of that pattern to 64 steps. Now the reason why I'm doing this is okay, that was a bit. Let's take these steps away, sorry. The reason why I'm doing this is I want one note which is more or less sustaining for all the 64 steps, so that I can capture one single note which is as long as possible, and I turn the length of this note up to infinity. This is probably not necessary with your synth, but it was necessary with the Odyssey because for whatever reason the note ended too early. When I'm setting something like this, these notes weren't long enough. So I set this to infinity, so it runs through all the 64 steps here. Okay, so quick double tap on source here and set the channel to 1, which is my MIDI channel. The Odyssey is set to MIDI channel 1. And now when I place I have the note placed, and when I play it back I can't hear anything because I first need to make sure that I either have a monitor set up so that I can listen to that. So by putting the directional input in here, this one. But this directional input threads the inputs as a stereo pair by default. So when I'm playing this back now, I have only one input connected because the Odyssey is a monosynth. So when I would play this back, I would hear this thing on the left channel now, which is kind of annoying. So let's turn this down again. And instead of doing this with the monitor, I'm using a through machine right here on my 8th track and set this to input A. But now, to make sure that I hear something, I have to go into the sequencer and have to trigger this through machine with a step. So I have to quickly play back. And now I can hear it, and that's important. So I can preview my sound that I have on the Odyssey or whatever synth that I have. And yeah, use this as my starting point for recording the notes. Now, actually what I'm doing here, I quickly want to tell you what I'm doing here. I am recording one single note from my monosynth into the Octatrack, and I'm using, I think it's better when I show you how this works. First, let's go to the first audio track, double tap that one, and let's select the flex machine. Now I take this right button here, go in here, and I assign this first recorder buffer. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the Octatrack's architecture, you know that each and every track that we have right here by default has an individual recorder buffer assigned to it where something is recorded into in real time, so to say. And each of these tracks has their individual recorder buffers assigned by default. They are not assigned because we have static machines, but yeah, just let's quickly skip that technical stuff. Let's just have a look at how this works for now. So I'm setting the recorder buffer, and when I record on this track right now, I have this in this very first recorder buffer. And to make chords out of this, here comes the important part. I move to the second track, select the flex machine again, and now it's cool. I can assign the same recorder buffer to all the individual tracks now. And that way I can basically play the same recording from recorder buffer 1, which is on this track, on all of these tracks. And maybe you might already get in which direction this is going, but let's first have a look at what we can do. So on track 1 I hit function and rec 1 on the Octatrack MK2 right here, so I have my input set up. I turn input A and B to A, because I have only input A connected. And I make sure that input C and D is turned off. I can also turn off the loop. And for the length, I don't set 60 max, but I set 64 steps. So it's recording throughout one pattern. And now to make this recorder trigger, yet again, I'm using recorder tricks this time, and I place a recorder trick at the beginning of that pattern and play this pattern back and instantly remove this trigger again, so that it only records for one cycle of that pattern. Just have a look. See, it has recorded this note, it went through and now it stopped. So when I now turn this one off and move out of this menu and set a trick right here, I can hear my recording. It's very loud, so let's turn the level down to like 50. Also, let's turn the level down on these other ones to 50 as well. Because now comes the crazy part. To replicate a chord with this recording, I can now go in and simply place a trick on these one as well. What we now have is ooh, yet again very loud, because all of these are playing at the same time. But now the cool thing starts. I can start working on that pitch right here for something like this. Maybe this. Let's go up an octave here, and let's do something like this here. Have a listen. Here we have our chord. Yeah, great, isn't it? And to make this thing a little bit more, great, let's just go in and let's pan these things apart from each other. So let's do like 20 here, and I don't know, like 30 here, in either direction, and watch what happens. Now we have a chord. Easy as that, isn't it? So we can change whatever we want on our monosynth and record this new take and have our chords instantly updated that way. So let's do this real quick. First I unmute this track number 8 again, where I can hear what I'm doing, and I'm muting all the other tracks. Because it doesn't matter if the track is muted or unmuted, the Octatrack will record into this recorder buffer in spite of that. So it's totally great to work that way. And if we do everything right, we can now do all of this from this recorder page. So first let's have a listen to our raw sound, and let's tweak something on this Odyssey and see if we can get to a different sound. Try a saw wave. Maybe sync. Work on something here. I don't know. Something crazy. Ooh, that's... Yeah, so let's first move to our first track again, because as you might have seen when I'm switching these tracks, the settings for the recorder changes. And this is because each and every track, as I said before, has its individual recorder buffer assigned. So I have to be on track number 1 in that particular case if I want to record that. So let's place this in, go into the grid recording mode, place the trigger, and let's go. And now, when I'm unmuting this track, and I'm muting this track, and unmute these again, we can hear our changes instantly. And if you have a synth which offers much more variety in terms of sound than the Odyssey in that case, you can hear these differences even more. So let's turn these off again, and let's turn this one on. And let's try some more. Something like this. Let's see how that turns out. Let's see what that sounds like. Yeah, that's okay. I think you get the idea. Let's now go to this track and let's set the recorder buffer differently here. Let's put input A and B and input C and D off. Let's turn it still on 64 and turn the loop off, but turn source 3 to main. Now I want to resample this into the Octatrack to make use of this very chord as a single sample. So let's set our recorder track here and let's play this thing back. Yeah, that's fine. Now let's go to this track. It's muted. Now it's unmuted, but if I play it back and place a step, I won't hear anything, because we haven't set the recorder buffer right here. So let's go to our flex machines and let's select recorder buffer number 7, because this is automatically assigned to track number 7 in the background. And let's have a listen now. Here's our chord, and we can obviously go in here and do things like, I don't know, just some fun stuff, you know. Yeah, let's quickly reduce the pattern length. Just for fun. Something like this, you know. Shape that sound a little, and let's go. And you get what this can lead to. Let's go to our first track again. Let's mute this one and quickly extend the pattern length again. Let's go to our MIDI track first, because I think these steps have now been copied. Yeah, they have been copied, so remove these again. And the same thing probably happens here. Yeah, let's also remove these right here. That should be fine now. Let's go to our first track again. Let's unmute this one into our recorder setting. Now we hear our Odyssey again. Do something like this. That sounds quite different from what we had before, so let's record that one. Okay, enough. Let's unmute these again. Let's have a listen how this sounds like. Now, if you notice these these stop things, this can happen due to the time stretching. If you want to make sure that this is not happening, turn it off on these individual tracks. There are artifacts inside, and if you don't want these artifacts, turn the time stretching off. still sounds like retriggering on each and every bar, but this was occurring due to something else, and probably because on this 8-track, yeah, here, the input from the through machine was re-triggered on each and every step right here. So that's why this is always restarting, so to say. And yeah, this was because we've extended that pattern again. But there were also some artifacts inside of the sound, and if these occur, you have to turn this time stretching off. But obviously, now when the notes are higher, the sample length is reduced, so you don't get full length in that case. That's a little bit of an issue, but anyway. Yeah, now that we have this, we can turn this one on, or let's actually just move on this one. Go out, record that again. And we have our, yeah, these are now also copied. We have our chords back. Have a listen. Let's work on the pitch. Same thing. If we don't like these artifacts, turn the time stretch off. Make it a bit snappier. Yeah, I think you get the idea. Do you? Yeah, so that's how we can easily use our Octatrack as kind of like a instant chord generator. And we can go much further, obviously. We do not have to actually pitch shift these chords around. We can also program chord variations with actual note offsets that we have to look up in the first place, because sadly we cannot enter notes on the Octatrack like we can do in the audio areas. We cannot enter notes on the Octatrack like we can do this on Digitakt, for example. So that's a little bit of an issue, but you can see how easy it is to change the sound on your synth, quickly record that single note, and have the Octatrack make a chord out of it. And also resample that chord so that you can instantly use it. Yeah, so that's it. I hope you like it. And as said in the beginning, I wish you still Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, my friends. And I see you very soon, I think. Bye.